Just because you're gluten-free doesn't mean you have to miss out on all the fun. Hey guys, it's Kaylee from Gluten-Free Runner, and today I'm super excited to say that I made a gluten-free king cake for Mardi Gras. My family got a king cake recently since Mardi Gras is coming up, and I really wanted to know what it tasted like. And I went to find a recipe for gluten-free king cake, and I couldn't, so I made my own, and I'm sharing it with you today. Here are the ingredients for the dough. Feel free to pause here and take a screenshot so you can follow along too. The ingredients will also be in the description below. Starting off with the dough, I am not using my 1-to-1 gluten-free baking flour for this. No, for this I am using this Bob's Red Mill gluten-free all-purpose flour, but you can use a 1-to-1 baking flour if you'd like. Here for bread, it shows you the exact measurements that you'll need for xanthan gum. So I'm using 3.5 cups of gluten-free flour, and that translates to 3.5 teaspoons of xanthan gum. If you want to use your own gluten-free 1-to-1 flour, then just add 3.5 cups of it and no xanthan gum. And if you want to use a different gluten-free flour, go ahead and just add the proper amount of xanthan gum for that. So basically it's just 3.5 cups of gluten-free flour and the right amount of xanthan gum for your flour. I highly recommend this Bob's Red Mill all-purpose gluten-free baking flour because I love it. But if you want to just simplify things and use a gluten-free 1-to-1 flour, that works perfectly fine as well. Then you're going to add in 1 packet of active dry yeast. Add it right into the flour. Don't use instant yeast, use the active dry yeast. It works best. After that, you're just going to add in your sugar and a little pinch of salt right into that bowl with the dry ingredients, and then add plenty of cinnamon and cinnamon sugar. Do not be afraid to go crazy with the cinnamon and cinnamon sugar. Add so much of it. Like, it is so worth it to add a ton to the dough. Do not be afraid. Then you're just going to give it a nice little whisk. Make sure everything's all mixed together well and set it off to the side. And we're going to grab our next bowl, a slightly bigger bowl, and get ready for the wet ingredients. So you're going to add 2 eggs, warm milk, warm water, melted butter, and vanilla to your bowl. You want the milk and the water to be about 110 degrees Fahrenheit-ish, but they don't have to be perfect. This is just going to be because it activates the yeast when we go to mix it in there. And so you want it to be warm, but not too hot so that it doesn't kill the yeast. You just want it to activate it. Once everything is all mixed together, I used a handheld mixer, but you can use your hand or a stand mixer, whatever you have. You're just going to combine the wet and dry. So I did this with my handheld mixer, but then I had to use my hands. Gradually add the dry ingredients into the wet. Don't do it too quick. You can use a stand mixer, and I think that might be easiest, honestly. Mix it until it looks like this. The dough should be soft and slightly stickier than regular dough. Then you're just going to simply leave it in the bowl, cover it with plastic wrap, and let it rise.
A few moments later.
Okay, so the dough has been rising for about an hour and a half, or until it has doubled in size, so we're going to make the filling. Take a screenshot or look in the description for the filling ingredients. So you're simply going to start while the dough is still rising by putting in your brown sugar, softened butter. I'm using Country Crock, but you can use real butter if you like, and a bunch more cinnamon and cinnamon sugar. Again, don't be afraid to really let that cinnamon flavor shine. It is the star of the show here, so you want a lot of cinnamon and a lot of cinnamon sugar. It truly makes the filling just absolutely the best, so don't be afraid to go hard with that cinnamon. Then, using my handheld mixer, I just whipped it all up until it looked nice and filling-esque, like a cinnamon roll filling, if you will. And boom. Once it's about that consistency, that's just what you want. Now, I'm going to get my gluten-free flour back out, and I used it to flour my little cutting board and my rolling pin here. You want to use a lot of flour for this, just to make sure that your dough doesn't stick to the rolling pin or the surface or your hands, because it is very sticky dough since it is gluten-free. And you want the dough to be sticky, but you really don't want it to stick, especially because we're going to roll it up. So make sure to flour your surface well. Here's my dough. After about an hour and a half of rising, it has basically doubled in size at this point. Then I just put it onto my floured surface, and I first used my hands to kind of flatten it down because it was really, really sticky. Don't be alarmed by the stickiness, but don't add any more flour to the dough. You don't want it to be too dry. Just kind of work it around and roll it out until it's about the size of your cutting board, or roughly 12 by 16 inch rectangle. Once it's like that, you can kind of see I was struggling with how sticky it was, but trust me, this is normal. Once it's all rolled out, I just used an offset spatula to spread my filling all across the dough. Spread it evenly across so that it's not too thick in some areas and too thin in others. Get it nice and spread out just like this. If you need to make more filling, feel free to do so and just use kind of a 1-to-1 ratio of that original filling ingredients list that I had. Then you're going to carefully roll your dough into a log like you see me kind of doing here. Now, I did run into some struggles because it was sticking a little bit, but I just worked around it and pinched it together in areas that it broke, and it all worked out okay. Then I shaped it into a ring on a greased cookie sheet like so, and my king cake was ready to go. I just got a little piece of plastic wrap after that and put it on the cake, over the king cake like so, and let it rise for 30 to 40 more minutes. Then preheat your oven to 350 Fahrenheit or 175 Celsius and uncover the plastic wrap, and you're going to bake it for 25 to 30 minutes or until golden brown. If the top starts to brown too much, cover it with foil and continue baking it until done. After 30 minutes, I pulled my king cake out, and it looks amazing. Look at all that. The cinnamon goodness is oozing out. It's so good. While it's cooling, we're going to make the icing and the topping. So it's super easy. Here are the ingredients here. I love this icing recipe because it's really versatile, and you can really make it however you want. You just start by putting your powdered sugar and vanilla in a bowl, and be careful with the vanilla because it can turn it brown. But you want this frosting to be white. So you're going to add in milk and mix it up. Start with about 2 tablespoons of milk, but then just add more as you go gradually. Add more sugar as you go gradually until you get your desired color and consistency. Now here we're going to make the sprinkles. If you already have yellow, green, and purple sanding sugar, go ahead and use that. But if you don't, I'm going to show you a quick hack. Pour some granulated sugar into 3 separate sandwich bags, and in each sandwich bag you're going to put a different color of food coloring. Green, yellow, and purple. Then you just smush it all around and kind of work it around in the bag until you dye your sugar those 3 colors. This is a super simple, easy hack that you can do if you don't have sanding sugar and if you don't maybe have time to go get it or anything. I loved this. It was super easy, super simple, and the colors turned out amazing. While I mix those, let me tell you a little bit about Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras is a French phrase that translates to Fat Tuesday in English. It's a holiday that takes place on Shrove Tuesday, the Tuesday before Ash Wednesday. Okay, so here, real quick, I am just going to cover my cake in the frosting. Alright, so the king cake tradition originated in France and celebrates the 3 wise men who visited Jesus on the 12th night. The 3 colors of the sprinkles represent each wise man. The tradition spread to New Orleans in 1870, and now we have the king cake. Here you can see I'm just putting my sanding sugar in a little pattern of orange, yellow, green, and purple all across the king cake like so until I get it to look like the traditional Mardi Gras king cake. here it is, guys. It turned out amazing. If you really want to take it to the next level, you can get some little plastic babies and put it on the inside, as that is part of the king cake tradition as well. Here, I cut my king cake, and look at that. You can actually see all the little flaky layers in between, and it looks and tastes amazing. It tasted just kind of like a cinnamon donut. The cake was pretty dense, and because of the gluten-free flour, but it tasted pretty flaky and light, and it was amazing. I hope you guys try this recipe, and I hope you enjoy it. This recipe is super festive, fun, and a great way to celebrate Mardi Gras on a gluten-free diet. Store it in the fridge because of the frosting for up to 3 days, but I doubt it'll last that long. It is so, so good. Happy Mardi Gras. Subscribe for more.